Hello guys and welcome to what is a brand new video. You join me in not quite the greatest of territories. It is enemy territory. I am outside Topsham, a very lovely village to be fair, but it's right on the outskirts just of Exeter. So that's not quite gone well for me, has it, for the start of this intro? But reason being, I went away with my friends this weekend to celebrate my belated birthday. Well, when I say that, they came down to Plymouth, but they had to go back up country, and as a result, I went in the car with them briefly, and they dropped me off at Exeter Services. So I've just decided to go on a lovely walk to Exmouth on the Exe Valley while recording this, really, because it's the start of August, guys, and that means one thing for this time of the year. Predictions are back. Predictions are back for the football season, baby. We have waited all summer to get on with these videos. And I'm not just going to do the main 3 leagues this time. I am going all across the English pyramid down to Tier 6. I'm very much looking forward to making this video. And today we start off with the first of them all, non-league. We're going to start with non-league and then we're going to work all our way up for these kind of videos. Before we do the National League North and South, I am going to explain my predictions on some of the Cornish clubs and Plymouth clubs this season that are in the Southern League itself, the league below. And I just want to briefly talk about how I think all of them are going to get on. So yeah, it'll be very interesting indeed on what I go with for that. But yeah, 4 clubs I'm going to talk about at the beginning here that are in the 7th and 8th tiers of English football across Cornwall and Plymouth. And we're going to give them a mention on what I think that's going to happen with them so far this season. Those 4 clubs are, quite specifically, Falmouth, Helston, Mousehole and Plymouth Parkway. We'll start with the 3 Cornish clubs because Falmouth, Mousehole and Helston are all in the Southern League Division 1 South, while Parkway are in the Southern League in general. Helston and Falmouth went up together from the Western League. Helston finishing on 80 points and with over 100 goals scored. Falmouth coming second on 76 points with promotion to the Southern League Division 1 South regardless, the 8th tier of English football in Cornwall. Now, I think objectively, the target for these 2 A394 clubs is to quite simply stay in the Southern League Division 1 South. It's very simple, and it will put a massive smile on the face for me and the rest of Cornish football. Helston are obviously going into this as Western League champions. The club of Kellaway Park, they've got Matt Cusack as their manager. How will I think they'll do? I think Helston really, obviously, just like I said, the target really is to stay up, but I can see them doing quite better than that, especially when you've scored over 100 goals. But where do I think? I'm going to pick a random number for all these clubs, by the way, for the beginning of this video. I will back Helston, regardless. I need to, for the honour of the Cornish crown and my Cornish badge and brotherhood and nationality. I'm going to say 16th for Helston in the Southern League Division 1 South. Be a very good first season. It would be a very good season for Helston Athletic if that does happen. Falmouth are the much bigger club, obviously, the second biggest club in the county behind Truro, their arch rivals. And some of what I saw in that game against Truro, against their arch rivals, they tried to give it everything, and defensively in some parts they looked really strong, but it just depends on whether they can now cope with that against, well, teams that are much lower in the league than Truro itself. And I think Falmouth does have the capabilities of, without a doubt, being comfortable in this league as well, to close that gap in the pyramids to their arch rivals Truro, who are obviously 2 divisions ahead. But like Helston, I can see Falmouth staying up. I think they will finish higher than Helston, though. I don't know. I don't know why. I just have the sudden feeling that Andrew Westgarth's going to give it everything this time out. And I know lately, obviously, and last season especially, they have been overlooked and overshadowed by their rivals on the A394. The thing is, I can see Falmouth well and truly be up for this league, being in the 8th tier of English football, and Bickland Park absolutely rocking, like it was in pre-season against Truro. So I'm going to go 13th for Falmouth. I'm confident in them as well, and they're going to give everything, I think, this season in the Southern League Division 1 South. So you can call me biased all you like, but I'm going to back both clubs. I am going to back both clubs. And speaking of Cornish clubs still and backing them, now we go on to Mousehole. Again, call me biased or not, but I'm genuinely going to back this. I've got Mousehole to win the league. I've genuinely got Mousehole to win the league, to get promoted to the Southern League itself, the 7th tier of English football. I have my reasons why as well. My reasons being, I just think everything around the club is a feel-good factor at the moment. I think that a club suddenly on the rise. You can tell by all their back-to-back promotions they've had over the last few seasons. They reached the playoffs last season, had the 3rd best goal difference in the league last season as well, only behind the 2 clubs that got promoted itself in Wimborne and Frome. They did, however, finish 8 points behind Bristol-based club Cribs, who finished 3rd last season. But I have every confidence for Mousehole going into this season, and I genuinely am honest on that one as well. Genuinely, I don't care what people say, I'm backing it. Mousehole will go up to the Southern League for 25-26 as champions. I'm confident in it, and I will be confident in it. Now we go on to the Southern League itself with Parkway, and I think it's fair to say that Parkway really struggled last season in the Southern League. Only just survived. Had a waterlogged pitch for most of last season as well, Belifo Park. It hasn't been pretty for Plymouth's second club. I don't know how I think Parkway's going to do this season, and I'm not that confident in them, annoyingly, as much as I hate to say it. But who knows? Parkway literally survived on goal difference as well. I don't know what to make for them this time. Parkway for me really depends on how Southern League new boys Wimborne and Frome get on. So that's where my heart and head lies at the moment. Yeah, as much as it pains to me to say, I really think Parkway's going to go down this season. I think they're going to find it harder surviving on goal difference last time out. The newly promoted clubs will give it everything as they can, as most newly promoted clubs most of the time do, especially in non-league. I'm not confident in Parkway. I think Parkway will finish 19th and will get relegated back to the 8th tier, which will be harsh and hard. But yeah, that's what I reckon. I'm going to say Parkway relegated, Mousehole promoted, Helston stay up, Falmouth stay up. So that's what I think for local football. Now we go on to the leagues themselves. Here we go then. We'll start with the National League North, because I know the National League South so much better, first of all. And second of all, I know this bit will be quicker in the video, so I'm just going to get out what I think will happen from the small perspective I have of the non-leagues, because my knowledge isn't the greatest on the non-leagues, but what I have seen, I'm going to go with my gut and predict what I predict. So I am obviously going to give it a go. But yeah, I know the National League South miles better than the National League North, unsurprisingly, because I am a southern bugger. So yeah, what do we go with then? So at the bottom, I have, in 24th, I have Rushall Olympic. 23rd, I have Farsley Celtic. 22nd, I have Radcliffe. And 21st, for a back-to-back relegation, I have gone with Oxford City. Rushall Olympic barely survived last time out in the north. Lost 22 games as well. As a result of that, Liam McDonald has resigned. But either way, I don't see any confidence into that club this season going into it. So I do think they will finish bottom. Farsley Celtic, all the same. They only just survived last time out due to Blyth Spartans relegation. And this time, I don't think it'll be that easy for Farsley Celtic. So I have got them 23rd. So both of them down to the Northern League. Radcliffe are newly promoted. And I thought to myself that I was going to end up predicting one of the newly promoted clubs down and the other one to survive. I've got Marine to survive. So I've ended up going 22nd for Radcliffe. And Oxford City, I thought they were shocking in the National League. It was too hard for them. Had a disastrous season, and I can see the struggles continuing, honestly, this season. So I'm going to say a back-to-back relegation for Oxford City, and that will put Oxford City relegated to the Southern League or the Southern League Central, because the thing is with the National League North, there's so many teams in the National League South, in the southern half of England. So some of the teams in your southern England, like Gloucester, Oxford City, Peterborough Sports, they get sometimes classified into the North League because of how many teams there are in the South. But yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be easy for Oxford City. Speaking of Peterborough Sports, I have them 20th. I think they're just going to survive. I think they'll find it harder than last time out. They finished 15th last time out. I think this time it'll be harder for them. Then in 19th, I have Southport. Only one place lower than where they finished last time out in 18th. I don't think they're going to hardly improve. So maybe expect another survival battling season for the Merseysiders. In 18th, I have Leamington, who, like Needham Market, were promoted from the Central Southern League, not the Southern League itself, joining the National League North. I think they'll do just enough as a promoted club. So yeah, but it will be a hard season, I reckon, for Leamington. And personally, I think the other promoted club, Needham Market's going to do so much better, especially with how they tore their league up last season as well. But Leamington, I think, will just have enough in 18th place. 17th, I have Buxton. Craig Elliott has resigned. They finished 14th last season, in the middle of the table, but this time, I'm going to say probably a little bit harder this time for Buxton, but I think they'll do just enough. So I'm going to say 17th for the Derbyshire outfit. And then in 16th, I have Marine. Newly promoted from the Northern League. I can see them staying up. I think they'll give this league a good go. The Liverpool-based club. Now, here's a bit of a shocker. In 15th, I have Curzon Ashton, who finished in the playoffs last time out. So this is one team that I think that will have a bit of a drop-off. So mid-table mediocrity, I reckon, this season for the club from Ashton-under-Lyne in Manchester. 14th, I've gone Warrington. Only 2 places lower than where they finished last season in 12th. So another mid-table season for the Cheshire outfit. The next 2 in mid-table, you might be very surprised with. In 13th, I've gone with Brackley. And in 12th, I've gone with Alfreton, which is a bit of a shocker, I know, because both of these teams had brilliant seasons last time out. In 3rd and 5th, respectively, they finished in the playoffs. This time, I think it's going to be a bit harder for them. So I have dropped them to mid-table because there's going to be other clubs in that National League North that I think they're going to have stronger seasons and bounce back. But no relegation fears whatsoever, regardless, for these 2. And then 11th, I've gone with Darlington. Another turbulent season for Darlow. Obviously, the team that we beat at Wembley, the last time we won at Wembley, Argyle, this is. Darlington finished 16th last time out. A very turbulent season for the Quakers. I think they'll improve this time, but I still don't think it'll be enough for Darlington to reach the playoffs and finally get back to at least a chance of getting back to the National League, which is obviously where they want to be. In 10th, I have Lynn, a former National League club themselves. Had a very disappointing season last time out in 18th place. I do think they'll want to kick some ass this season and improve, but I still don't think it'll be enough for the playoffs for the Norfolk club. And then just missing out on the playoffs, I have South Shields in 9th and I have Scarborough in 8th, which South Shields will be very disappointed with, especially because last time out they finished 8th, finished on a really positive goal difference as well, and they'll feel that driven and annoyed if they miss the playoffs yet again, because I know that'll be their primary target this season. Scarborough, meanwhile, I think they will improve, but I don't think it'll be enough for the former Football League club. So now we go into the playoffs, and the first team in the playoffs I have in 7th is none other the newly promoted side, Needham Market, which will be fantastic for the Suffolk outfit. Obviously, there's a massive feel-good factor going from last season. Had an incredible season in the Southern Central League, and this time out I think that feel-good factor of a potential back-to-back promotion will continue for this club. I have high hopes for them, and I think they will get playoffs. Needham Market, I'm putting them 7th. In 6th I have Hereford, a team that I think that will improve. So that's a former Football League club that I think that will sneak into the playoffs this time. So I'm going 6th for them. In 5th I've gone with Spennymoor, a team that I do think that will improve this time. Yeah, I don't know what it is with Spennymoor, but I know they finished 9th last time out. They're just the sort of club that I just think that will do it this time and break into that playoffs position. So I will back them to finish 5th. I do think it'll be too soon for them to go up though. But I will say 5th for Spennymoor. In 4th I have Chester. Obviously they are a former League 2 club, and this time I think they will break into the playoffs. They finished 10th last time out. I can see them improving this time. I don't think they'll be anywhere near challenging for the top though. I think there's a three-way fight for me this season in the National League North between Chorley, Scunthorpe and Kidderminster. What order do I think though? Well, I've got Scunthorpe to win the league and come first, which might sound very boring and stereotypical because they are by far the biggest club in the National League North. And yes, I know they've just sacked their manager after failing to go back up to the National League first time of asking, Jimmy Dean. In comes Andy Butler. They have to do it surely this season, Scunthorpe. They've had back-to-back relegations the last 2 seasons, failed to go back up straight away in the National League North. They surely have to do it this time. And they still finished last season on the highest goal difference as well, despite not winning the league. So yeah, I am going to back Scunthorpe to win the league and straight back to the National League next season. So now it's between Chorley and Kidderminster on who I think comes second. Kidderminster have just been relegated from the National League, but I do think they'll come second. Phil Brown is a top quality manager. He used to be in the Premier League with Hull and then again in League One with Southend. No, I do think they will be one of the favourites this season, unsurprisingly. I wouldn't be surprised if they went straight back up. Obviously, one gets automatically promoted, so it depends on the playoffs. So I've got Kidderminster second, I've got Chorley third, and I've got Chorley to win the playoffs. Which I know sounds a little bit biased from me because of Chorley's connection with Paul Mariner, who's an Argyle legend, of course, but they know how to get back into the National League. They were in there a few seasons ago. I think there's a feel-good factor with them at the moment. They were very close last season as well. Chorley to come third, Kidderminster second, and Chorley to win the playoffs. And Chorley will join Scunthorpe in the National League for 25-26. So that's my predictions for the North. And now we go on to where it really matters to me, the National League South. So we'll start with the 4 teams as usual that I think that will get relegated this season in the National League. And I have backed 24th Hemel Hempstead, 23rd Tonbridge Angels, 22nd Chesham and 21st Enfield. Hemel Hempstead barely survived last season. I think they'll drop this time. Tonbridge Angels, meanwhile, I think will have a big drop themselves to get relegated in the bottom 4, while Chesham and Enfield are 2 newly promoted clubs. Of course, Truro, beat Chesham in that playoff final of the Southern League 2 seasons ago, and now Chesham have got themselves promoted. I don't think they will quite do it though, and I do think they'll go straight back down. Enfield, all the same, promoted from the Isthmian League this season with fellow club Hornchurch, and I just think it's going to be too much of a struggle for them both. So I am going to back Chesham and Enfield to go down with Tonbridge Angels and Hemel Hempstead. In 20th I have Slough, which is a bit of a drop off for them because they finished 10th last time out. Another one of those teams that I think that will drop down the table, but I think they will have enough to stay up. In 19th I have Salisbury, newly promoted club this time out. They will be, and they used to be in this league as well, let alone the National League. So they will be absolutely delighted to be back in this league, and I think they'll give it a huge go. They'll be well up for this, Salisbury, I reckon. So I'm going to say 19th for the Wiltshire club. In 18th I have Eastbourne, 1 place higher than where they finished last season. And then in 17th, I have another Wiltshire club, Chippenham. Mid-table last season, finished on 0 goal difference, but I do think there'll be another club that I think they'll have a bit of a drop-off this time. Well enough to stay up though, but not quite the season I think Chippenham fans will be hoping for. So I'm going to say 17th for Chippenham. In 16th, I have Welling United, who finished just behind us last time out in the National League South. I think they'll slightly improve, but not by much. But I think they will do okay-ish. So yeah, I'm going to back Welling 16th. And then in 15th, I've gone with Weymouth. So no improvements for the Terrors whatsoever. Obviously, they're arch rivals to Yeovil, who have just got themselves back up to the National League themselves. But yeah, I do rate Weymouth's manager though, Mark Molesley. He knows that club very well as well. I remember him from his time at Aldershot, because I was at work experience at Aldershot while he was the manager, and he had kept Aldershot up that season in 21-22, surviving. He's dropped down a division, of course, this time because he eventually got sacked from Aldershot. And I think he can keep Weymouth sustainable. Weymouth have had a terrible few seasons, to be fair, because I know they've been relegated from the National League in 21-22, but they nearly got relegated to the Southern League during this time as well. So they will have to be careful. But I don't think there'll be any improvements with the club whatsoever. So I'm going to say 15th for a second season in a row for Weymouth. Then in 14th, I have Hornchurch, the champions of the Isthmian League last season. Like Needham Market in the National League North, I think there's a big feel-good factor with this club at the moment. They'll be delighted to be in this league, of course, and I think they'll give it a hell of a go. I can see them staying up comfortably, and I do have them in a mid-table finish. So yeah, I think it'll be a good solid season, first season for Hornchurch, so I'm backing them 14th. And then in 13th, I've gone with Hampton and Richmond Borough, the team that has constantly been flirting with mid-table in this league the last few seasons, and I think this season's going to be no exception whatsoever. Now we go into the top half. In 12th, I've gone with Aveley, which might be seen as a real big surprise and shock, because Aveley had a fantastic season last season. They got into the playoffs. They're another one of the teams that I do think that will drop a bit this time, but I can't see them being in the bottom half whatsoever, so I'm going to say 12th for Aveley. And then 11th, I've got Weston-super-Mare, a team I highly rate, to be honest, because obviously the season Truro went up, beating Chesham in that playoff final. Weston-super-Mare were superb that season, and they won the Southern League, and now they're looking to become very sustainable in this league itself. I do rate them, and I can't see why they can't challenge for playoffs either. So I'm going to say the top half for Weston in 11th place. I just think the competition's going to be slightly strong for them, and that's why I've put them where they are. And then in 10th, I have fellow Somerset club Bath, which isn't really a surprise if you ask me, because over the years, Bath have just constantly been flirting with the National League South playoffs or that part of mid-table, and they just never seemed to go up to the National League, and I don't know why. Bath are, for me, the Middlesbrough of the National League South, the Bradford of the National League South, the Charlton of the National League South, and if they're not careful, the Bolton of the National League South. And I don't think this season's going to be any exception for Bath whatsoever. So, yeah, I think there'll be a round challenging for them once again, and they'll just drop off slightly. So I'm going with 10th for the Romans. And then in 9th, I've gone with my non-league club, Truro, us lot. I will say this though, I highly rate the new appointment of the manager in John Askew, who has formerly managed York, of course, so there is that as well. Unfortunately, his spell at Hartlepool didn't quite go as well, but I still highly rate the manager regardless. I thought it all started doom and gloom with Paul Watton leaving Truro to join Torquay, which did happen. Torquay signed Paul Watton for this season and looking to take Torquay up. But I have rated the signing of John Askew. It'll be a different season for Truro as well, because new stadium, finally back playing in Cornwall after all these years, sharing with Parkway at Belifo Park, and then last season being an absolute mess for the club, travelling to the likes of Taunton and Gloucester for a home game for a club like Truro, which is ridiculous if you ask me. So yeah, it'll be so good and such a feel-good factor to be back at home with a new stadium as well, brand new stadium. I'm looking forward to it when I finally go there. I just don't think it's going to quite be the season yet for Truro. I'd love playoffs, but I don't think it's going to be this year yet. Also, Truro's been very quiet in the summer transfer window so far, which could lead to potential strugglings, but I'm backing the boys, and I really rate John Askew, and that's why I've mainly got Truro in the top half in the first place. I was so close to putting the Tinners in the playoffs. I just think there's going to be 8 stronger teams, sadly. But if it's not this season, I think it could be next season in 25-26 for Truro to finally reach the National League for the first time in history, and the first time a Cornish club has reached the 5th tier of English football, which would be amazing because obviously, other than that, Cornwall's primary professional club is obviously Argyle. But yeah, Truro to come 9th, I reckon. I don't think it will be this season, but if everything goes to plan and things can get better next season, then fingers crossed, let's hope so. I'll take 9th anyways, to be fair, given how manic last season was for the Truronians. So yeah, I'm going to go 9th for Truro. Not quite enough, but a solid season at least. And then in 8th, just missing out on the playoffs, I've gone with Chelmsford, which would be really sad for them given how superb they were last season in the National League South. The best of the rest after how dominant Yeovil was last season. And I don't know what it is, I just feel like that Chelmsford's going to suddenly become one of those clubs where they'll not have it quite like they had last season, which would be a shame because they nearly did Essex proud, of course, by getting into the National League, but just wasn't to be at the end. They didn't go up, but I don't think it's going to be as decent of a season as it will be this time for them. I think they will miss out. There's other teams out there who I think that will be stronger this season than Chelmsford, but I still think they're going to be top half at least, and at least battling for the playoffs. Also, I got a friend of mine from Essex who supports Chelmsford. It's his non-league club. He's not quite confident on the season as much either, so if I've heard that from a fellow fan, then it might be something I ended up considering, but yeah, I'm going 8th for Chelmsford. In 7th, just sneaking into the playoffs, I've gone with Boreham Wood, who have just been relegated from the National League. So it's going to be a really difficult season, I reckon, for Boreham Wood. They've sacked their manager as well going into this season. Luke Garrard has left the club on mutual consent. In comes Ross Jenkins. I don't think it's going to be as strong as of a season as Boreham Wood fans will be expecting, but I think it'll be a harder league for them this season than I think it will suggest, but I think there will be playoffs at least. It'll be an absolute disastrous season for the Woods if they didn't make playoffs. In 6th, I've gone with Worthing. The last 2 seasons they've been in the playoffs. They've been unsuccessful, but they've had incredible seasons. I can see them maintaining that this season. And then in 5th, I've gone with Farnborough, the Hampshire club right next to Aldershot, who I think that will break into the playoffs this time. They had a really solid season last season as well, finishing 8th, just outside of the playoffs after coming up. And this time, I think they will break into it. So who knows what will happen, but no, I reckon it'll be a good season for Farnborough. And then in 4th, I have St Albans, another club who I think that will improve this season after finishing mid-table last time out. So I'm expecting a stronger season for them. That leaves me with a top 3 battle, just like what I have for the National League North. And the autos battle, I reckon, will be Dorking, Maidstone and Torquay. I've got Torquay 3rd. A big step up this is for Paul Watton, my favourite player of all time for Argyle. Stepped up from my beloved Truro to try and take Torquay back up this season. I've got Torquay third because they have just come out of administration. Despite the brand new takeover they have just got into this season and appointing Neil Warnock into the board at Spennymoor this time as well. But it is always a hard season, isn't it, when you're just going out of administration with a new takeover and you're now going to rebuild and adjust to things. But I do think they will bounce back, Torquay, at least, and be in the top half battling for autos this time. Can they go up? We'll see who I have that wins the playoffs in a minute. But in second, I've got Dorking. Mark White's one of my favourite managers in non-league at the moment, obviously. His documentary, Dorking Uncovered, was absolutely brilliant. His sense of humour is second to none. I just don't think they quite have the capabilities of what I think Maidstone's going to do. But Dorking will challenge, in my honest eyes. I really think they will challenge at least, because they have got a brilliant manager, and it was a shame that they got relegated last season from the National League. But I think they will be there. But I have got Maidstone to win the league. And I have got Maidstone to win the league. The way they knocked out Ipswich last season in the FA Cup was absolutely incredible. I don't think anyone would have believed that, but they did it. Incredible from Maidstone. And they looked strong again in the National League South last time out. And I think this time out they will go on and do that one step further. And I could see Maidstone returning to the National League for 25-26, and they're a former Football League club as well, so wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So that leaves me with my playoff winners, and I can't lie, I have backed Torquay to win the playoffs. So it's literally because of the takeover and everything that's just gone on and all that, but they have to surely return to the National League soon, or it's going to look really bleak on the Spennymoor club one bit. But I think this could be the start of things to turn around for Torquay. I am going to back them to win the playoffs, so it just depends for me now whether they make their mark in the National League on their return for 25-26, because it is where at least they need to be. They are a League 2 club anyways, Torquay, but obviously talking about this now just shows that wherever you are, it's the league you're in at the end of the day. So, but I do think they'll do it. I'm backing Torquay to win the playoffs, but I don't think it's going to be enough to challenge Maidstone for the title, who will win the league. But they're the two that I think that will go up, Maidstone and Torquay. So that wraps up the video, guys, really. So for the first part of my predictions. So that's that, really. I'm going to grab a train in a minute while I've been on this walk, talking about these predictions. But that is part 1 of 6 done with predicting National League South and National League North. And also how I think the Cornish clubs are going to get on in Falmouth, Helston and Mousehole. And obviously Parkway too. But yeah, we're on to the National League next. Who do I think will do well and go up to League 2? So yeah, the National League predictions is next. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We'll see you for the 5th tier video next. Up the Janners, up the Argyle, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth, up the Greens. Come on, you boys in green. Green Army. I'm going to have to say that quiet because I'm in Exmouth at the moment on a walk, which is enemy territory. But yeah, we'll see you on the next one, guys. The National League predictions is next. Cheerio.
When they pull on the green, they're all Janners.